In this video, we'll walk through together taking this spreadsheet from confusing to professional. For starters, let's try and figure out what it is that this sheet is trying to tell us. If we zoom in here, we can see that there are some notes here up to the top left, something about a commission schedule. There's a line here that seems to be out of place, and then we have a chart over to the side to show commissions, but we're not really sure what these axes represent. It references this data here, but again, we're not sure how to deal with this information. So to start, I always like to clean things up a little bit and get rid of any formatting that may not be necessary. I'll get rid of this line, and let's change all of our fonts here. I like to go to page layout, fonts, and then choose Arial here. If there's anything that didn't change, we can always go here to change it to Arial and make sure that it's the same size. Next, we're trying to understand what it is that's being shown. And it seems like if we remove all of the grid lines here, we'll choose no borders, there's this table here that's trying to show us something. So we'll move that down over here. We have this commission schedule, numbers are in thousands, and then here we have some text that appears to tell us the goal of what this sheet is trying to say. Then we have this table here that drives a chart, and we have a chart displaying something across these axes here. Maybe sales amount, it looks like, is on the x-axis, and then vertically is commissions. So there's some things that we can do to clean this up right away. Let's start by inserting a number of rows here at the top so that we have room to work. It looks like there's a fill color here that followed in, so we'll go ahead and remove all the fill colors and say no fill. We'll start by using this commission schedule text here at the top. We'll paste it as a value. And then we've noted that the numbers are in thousands here, but I'm not sure that that's a relevant thing to start right with at the top. However, we do know the goal of this commission schedule. And so here we can say the goal of the commission schedule is to pay higher amounts for the sacrifice of sales reps moving to different regions for 2 to 3 years. If we copy this out, we can put it right here. And let's move this text all the way up to the top, right underneath our header. We don't need this text anymore. We don't need this text anymore, and we don't need it to be merged and centered. It appears here that these are inputs here, where we say their annual sales range from some number to another number, and then they move up. Let's correct this table next. If we remove the merge and center, we can drag this up to the top here. We have an annual sales range. None of these are formulas, they're all values. So let's start by adding in some formulas since we don't want to hard code things. First, let's format this here. We'll go to the styles menu here and we'll denote it as an input. We know that it needs to be in dollars because it's sales. If we press Ctrl-Shift-4, it puts it in dollars, and we align numbers to the right per the standards of professionalism. We know that this amount here just needs to be $1 less than that, so we can type in equals that minus 1, and we'll drag that down all the way. Well, it didn't change our numbers. It will change if we change this number, for example, to 800. You'll see that it changes so that we can calculate things correctly. Then we have this commission amount, and it looks like the commission is based on a percentage, and then it calculates the dollars based on that percentage. So again, here we'll want to format this as an input cell. Ctrl-Shift-5 will give it the same number of decimal points, one number after the decimal place. Again, we'll align it to the right, and here we're going to create some formulas where we multiply the lowest amount by that percent. And if we anchor this correctly so that we have an absolute reference in the column, but we allow the row to change, we can copy that formula all the way down here. And when we press Ctrl-V, we're left with a value, so we will reference this plus sign here, and then we will align everything to the right. We'll use Ctrl-Shift-4 to get the same currency formats that we have over here. So now we understand what our commission amounts are based on what the inputs are, both for the sales ranges and the combined commission percentage. Let's slide this over one cell here. And we'll, instead of merge and center, if you press Ctrl-1, we can choose the alignment option, and on the horizontal alignment, we could choose center across selection. That will put it across these two. But instead of doing that, we typically in English read left to right. And so if we align this to the left, let's just add a fill color here. And then we'll do the same thing here and add that same fill color. We'll remove the wrap text so that it just flows over top of this. Let's make our row heights a little bit taller so that we can see what's going on. And now we've got a good input table. We understand what's happening there. Let's next get these notes up here and figure out what needs to be done there. Oh, I just noticed too, we have this reminder that our dollars are in thousands. So let's go right up here. We'll insert a new row right here. We'll choose no fill color and we'll say note dollars are in thousands. And we can put that same zeros there. We'll use the formatting up here in our style to choose an explanatory text, and then we can delete this as well. These are notes that we need the team to understand. Instead of having them in separate cells, we can actually insert a text box here, and I'll use this shape right here, and then if we copy this, paste it in here, we can actually select that whole text, right click, and choose bullets. And so now, once we refine it a little bit, we'll be able to read it all clearly in one place. After 2 years, the schedule will be completely reassessed. That's the first bullet. The second bullet, traveling reps should expect possible reduced commissions after 2 years. Now notice here we spelled out 2 in this case, but we left it as a number here. So we'll match that and we'll spell out the word years. The annual sales start either 7/1 or 10/1, and then the commission is split between the 2 traveling reps and is paid, don't need this to be capitalized, based on attributable sales only, not total company sales. Let's make the font on that a little bit larger. We will choose to have a shape fill of white and a shape outline of gray. Gray kind of blends into the background, so we only see it when we really need to. We'll do the same thing with the text, make it not quite as dark as everything else around it. So now we have some notes that people need to be aware of. We may want to add an extra line between each of these bullets to make it a little bit easier to tell them apart. And then we're left next with the chart over to the side. And we're not really sure what this chart is supposed to be saying for us, but it seems to be denoting here the sales and commissions amount. And it looks like these percentages should probably be referencing what we have here. Our sales go from 0 all the way up to 3,000, and I think these dollars are also in thousands. If we zoom in here so we can work on the table, let's create an input cell that says increment, and we'll choose this dollar input, Control-Shift-4, and let's say it's incremented by $500,000. Now these dollars are all in thousands right now, but let's say we say equals this cell plus our increment. And if we anchor that appropriately, then as we drag this down, we'll be able to see as we make the cells a little bit wider how big these dollars get. Now up here we have our ranges here are in thousands, so we could do that same thing here where we start with $500, and now we see our increments here match up to the numbers that we have here. So we have a percent of commission which needs to be looked up, and then the commission dollars need to be calculated. We will learn about this formula more in future videos, but the way that we can do this is with a VLOOKUP. The lookup value here will be 0, and the table array that we're going to look this up on will be this one right here. And we'll select this whole range, press F4, choose the 1, 2, 3, 4th column to get that percentage back, and then in this instance we would like a true lookup, so it finds the closest value. And we'll drag that all the way down. Now these commissions look up their appropriate percent. And then the commissions paid out is equal to the sales dollars times that commission percent. And we'd like this Control-Shift-4 to be the same dollars, and this Control-Shift-4 to be the same as well. Now what I'm seeing is that we actually don't need as many rows as we have there. We only go up to 2,000 here. So if our chart here only goes up to 2,000, we may want to change our increment to say 250 so that we see a little bit more detail. But then I think everything past that we need to delete. That, of course, will change our chart. Let's get rid of the underlines here on these titles. Now let's work on our chart. We know that the size of this chart is too large, so if we shrink it down to the correct number of rows that we have here, we now see that our commissions pay out on this schedule. But we need to label our axes to be able to understand what's actually being shown here. So if we go to chart design, we'll add a chart element. First we'll say our axis title for primary horizontal and axis title for primary vertical. If we click on this line here, it appears that our vertical amount is the commissions that we're paying, and our horizontal amount are the sales that we're selling. So let's change that here. We can change this to say sales, and this is commissions. And then let's change this to explain what the chart is telling us, which is the potential commissions by sales bracket. If we move this up here, let's see, we actually have a title format that we've been using here with these yellow bars. Let's do the same thing over here. So instead of having the title in the chart, let's put it right here in this cell. We'll change the chart design so that it has no outline. We will leave the shape fill as white, but we'll line it up right here on the edge. We'll line up this right here with that yellow color. We'll remove the title in the chart itself, and then we will make it fit within this range right here. We can also remove the outline on this so that it matches a little bit better. And we'll actually align these two things to the bottom. Align, align to the bottom. All right, let's zoom out for a moment. Looks like we're getting a little bit closer to something that's a bit more professional. Let's start with our headline here, and we can use this formatting right here to choose a heading. And down here, let's choose our formatting again to be maybe heading 4. We'll remove the bold, it's a little bit much. View, turn off grid lines. Let's set our outside columns to be 4. We will hide all of the other columns. And then let's update our number formatting here for these commissions and for these sales. We'll remove the decimal points. That cleans that view up a little bit more. So we have here a little bit closer, a little bit easier to read. We have the commission schedule, and the goal of the commission schedule is to pay higher amounts for the sacrifice of sales reps moving for 2 to 3 years. We should again spell out the word years here, and we could even shorten this to just say goal. Pay higher amounts for the sacrifice of sales reps moving to different regions for 2 to 3 years. We have our assumptions down here, and we could actually name this with a title right here that says notes, and we could turn off the bullets for that specific line, give it a little bit more weight. And now it looks like the only other thing we need to think about is how this chart is laid out. Let's add some markers to it, and we will use the circle markers that are built in, make them a little bit larger. We'll make their fill color white, and then we'll make the border color this dark blue here. Let's turn off the line, and now we can start to see a trend here. If I sell over to this amount, $750, I get this much in commissions. And remember, these are in thousands. We should probably move this note up here to be a little bit more prominent. We'll also remove this row here. Now it looks like there's quite a jump out here as we move up in sales. And maybe that's because of how we have this formatted. Let's say the goal of this sheet is maybe to explore what the range of sales would be. So if we do 300, 600, 800, and then 1250 here, we'll see how that changes our chart. We could also improve the percentages. What if we moved this percent up here to 2.5, and then 3, and then 3.5? We may want, though, an additional boost here to 5% and then here to 6%. And that would show us some gaps in our chart here that we can explain with some explanatory formatting. So here in the chart, we will format it. We'll go to Chart Design. We'll go up here to our grid lines, and we'd like major vertical grid lines on as well as horizontal grid lines so that we can follow it. And we'll also go ahead and insert a little bit of a shape here so that we can explain what's happening. We can put this bracket right on the chart. We can rotate it a little bit, put it right here. We'll make the shape outline match that same kind of gold color that we've been using. And then we'll also input a text box. So if we go to Insert, and we can just use this Shapes here, we can choose this text box option, and right here we can say commissions are increased at a higher rate to account for greater sales targets. If you're the person presenting this, you may want to explain why it is that that jump happens. We'll remove the shape fill here, and we'll remove the shape outline. And so now we have some explanatory text right on the chart showing us what's happening. And we can paste this same shape right up here at the top to show that same type of logic. There we go. We may want to make the outline on these a little bit easier to see. And as we're going through this, really the point is it takes a lot of intentional thought to lay out a dashboard in a way that makes sense. We don't know how all of the data in this particular sheet is supposed to be used because we're getting it kind of secondhand, but we can apply these same standards of professionalism to any sheet that we get so that we can actually make it legible and usable. As you design your own dashboards and worksheets, you should design with the intent to make it easy to read and to make it easy for people to understand what's being said. Now that we've spent some time to format this sheet, you can see that we have a clear header. We explain what it is that we're doing. We've explained over here one of the assumptions that we're making. We have more detailed notes down here for the people that are actually using it. We can move those up. We have clear input cells, and we have a clear chart here that shows us what we need to learn because it has a call out on it. There are a lot of things that you can do to make your work more professional. Some of the biggest changes are in the little things that you do to make it more usable, to make it more user-friendly. For example, if I wanted the user to know that these are input boxes, I should probably put some sort of note, maybe it's even down here at the bottom, that just explains that that style equals an input box. Something like that could help our users to make sense of this. The other thing that we can do is if we choose to modify this format, we can change the fill color maybe to be a light yellow because that fits in our theme a little bit better. There are a bunch of things that we could change, and we could go about this for quite some time. This table down here at the bottom probably doesn't belong on our dashboard. So if we add a new sheet here, we can then take this table, select the whole thing, press Control X, move it back here, press Control V. You'll notice our chart is still intact. It just references on the other sheet, and we may call this sheet Data. And then we may not need to format this sheet the same way that we did our front sheet because it's the data sheet. We would call this Summary Report. And the other thing we may want to do is set it up to be printable. So if we select this entire range right here, we choose Page Layout, Print Area, Set Print Area, and then we'd like it to fit by 1 page tall and 1 page wide, and we want the orientation to be landscape. Now when I go to click this and choose Print Preview, you can see that the whole page is going to fit on 1 page, and it's easily printable for a handout or something like that. So hopefully this is a helpful primer into how we think about making things professional. You will learn and get practice doing this throughout the course. But the skills that we go over in the standards of professionalism are to help you be able to take your work to the next level in terms of making sure that it looks great and it feels great and it works great for the audiences that we're working for.